is a video about breath stacking. So you'll receive this because we maybe talked about it in your session. We're going to be talking a little bit about the diaphragm, the anatomy of the diaphragm, and maybe kind of the associations that breath stacking can be having on that, and generally your sort of posture, your body position, etc., etc. So breath stacking is something I see quite a lot. Generally in clinic, it's something I see quite a lot with people who have asthma, people who have stressful lives, maybe stuck in that fight or flight response, maybe their nervous system is stuck in high anxiety. So it's something that, I treat a lot, I give a lot of guidance with. So we'll have talked already about the fact that that kind of breath stacking is the fact that we take a breath in and then we don't fully exhale. So our next breath in is stacked on top of that. And then we're kind of stuck with all this air in our lungs. We then don't have that extra capacity. So it can often make us feel a bit breathless. It can keep us stuck in that fight or flight zone when it comes to our nervous system. And it can also mean that your rib cage and your diaphragm gets really stiff. So let's talk about your diaphragm. So your diaphragm is a muscle that starts off around at your spine, inserts all the way around the bottom of your rib cage. And basically you've got a muscle that runs up from that circular origin, runs up and then inserts into a big flat tendon at the top. So when your diaphragm's relaxed, it's a nice dome shape, and when it contracts, it flattens out. So some of you may remember from school that bell jar with the two balloons in the top, and then that rubber diaphragm. When you pull the diaphragm down, the pressure within the rib cage or within the jar decreases, creating that expansion through your lungs or through those two balloons. So we use muscles within our rib cage, but we also use our diaphragm to inhale and exhale. So when we're thinking about breath stacking, what happens is that our diaphragm is stuck in that flat position, so our muscles will become shortened and very stiff. And actually, that kind of out breath helps that muscle to lengthen, and you can visualize that doming of your diaphragm when you're practicing this as well. So changing these habits sometimes can feel a little bit odd, strange, anxiety-inducing. So make sure that when you start practicing this, that you do it in a relatively relaxed atmosphere. You could even do it sitting in the car when you've got to where you're going and you've got a couple of moments. Try not to practice this when you're already stressed and in a heightened anxiety state. So you're going to get yourself comfy, get yourself sitting as comfortably as possible. You're going to take a normal breath in, and then you're going to breathe out as much as you would normally, and then just sigh out a little bit more breath. So with your mouth relaxed, just a ah. You might even make it like a sighing noise or that kind of thing, just to kind of trigger that extra out breath. You might find your rib cage softens when you're doing that. Nice normal breath in. Next breath, let that breath go, and then a little bit more to sigh out. Normal breath in again. Last one, breath out, and then sigh out. And then just go back to normal breathing. We're not here to force that rib cage closed, to force that breath out. We're just here to sigh that breath out. And you can visualize maybe your rib cage will naturally soften down, almost like your ribs are like chocolate and they're melting. And you can also potentially even sense or visualize that diaphragm settling back up into your rib cage. So really nice exercise. I would probably do those 3 breaths out maybe 2 or 3 times, but just have a bit of normal breath in between. Don't worry if this makes you feel a little bit worried to start off with. It takes practice, and we often breath stack as a sort of coping mechanism for stress and things like that. So it's really natural if that kind of sighing out makes you feel a little bit concerned. Just practice it 3 reps at a time, and then just go back to your normal breathing. Once you're really adept at this, this can be a really nice way of tapping into your more relaxed nervous system state anyway. So if you're in a stressful situation with the kids or at work or something like that, then you can then tap into those 3 out breaths, and that automatically brings your nervous system into a state of more calm. Give it a go. Remember, I'm available on email if you've got any questions or concerns. Take care.